Most of the world's attention in the run-up to the Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia, has focused on security. New warnings have been issued for Americans traveling to Russia, but the threat of terrorism isn't the only troubling issue for Russian President Vladimir Putin. The other big problem is money. The Sochi Games could be the most expensive Olympics in history at a reported $51 billion. Let's get more on that from Aaron Kuriloff, sports finance reporter for Bloomberg News. Aaron, good morning.
Morning.
Let's start with security. What exactly are the Russians doing? I mean, and the Russians can be very tough in this area, I know.
Yeah, well, this is part of the spare no expense mentality leading into this game. We're talking about 40,000 troops and police are in and around the area. Checkpoints, cameras with facial recognition software, full body scanners, metal detectors, long lines of cars in and out of Sochi, search dogs, everything you can imagine.
You know, so much has been made about security for people going there, but I saw an article that even said they're telling the athletes not to wear their uniforms outside of Sochi. How do you protect the athletes who are there?
Well, interestingly, the athletes, the short answer is very closely, but the athletes themselves are saying we feel fairly secure. It's our families and the visitors that are coming with us that we're really concerned about. So you've seen things like Zach Parisi, the Minnesota Wild, who plays on the men's hockey team, saying, I've been to the Olympics before. My wife has some young children. Maybe you guys stay home and I'll go alone this time.
When the Russians bid for these games, the estimated price tag was $12 billion. As we said, we're looking at over $50 billion. What happened?
Well, the typical Olympic bid rises about threefold in between the bid and the opening ceremonies. Yeah. In this case, it went almost fivefold. There's many aspects to it. I mean, there was some straight bad planning, there's some graft and corruption, and then there's
in Russia, I can't imagine.
No. And then there's a spare no expense effort to make this the showcase of modern Russia and to really blow it out.
You know, when China hit 40 billion, I thought no one will ever have a more expensive Olympics, but they've managed to do it. A lot has been made about the mismanagement of money, and there's one picture that a lot of people are talking about. We want to take a look at this picture. It basically shows two toilets side by side as an example of just how there's no real oversight in all of this. I mean, how is that useful?
Well, the story from one contractor was that, you could get funding and permitting made easier for anything with the word Olympic in it. So the joke was that every toilet in Sochi was now an Olympic toilet. I guess that's an Olympic toilet.
Who's getting the contracts here?
Well, short answer, friends of Putin, Russian oligarchs,
yeah.
Large Russian corporations with ties to the government. Some of them aren't doing it so willingly. A lot of private companies were told, essentially, you're going to invest in this area because
right.
we're going to turn this into a first-class destination. And whether they really wanted to pay up or not, they ended up investing in those areas for the good of the country.
I mean, Putin has effectively ruled for 14 years. Is this what everyone probably should have expected, that this is how he would do these games?
Well, he really wanted and said he wanted to turn this into the showcase of a new modern Russia and a destination for everybody. So, and to some extent he got taken advantage of because people knowing that then, raised the price on things.
So what's at stake here for him? Because as you say, he's basically put all of his chips on this Olympics as a showcase, but he's got this threat of terrorism hanging over the whole thing.
Well, there's the threat of terrorism at every Olympics, unfortunately, since 1972 and up through the Atlanta Games. The analysts we're talking to say it's likely to look great on TV. The terrorism is a threat, but Sochi is probably the most secure part of Russia right now, and terrorism is probably more of a threat in other places that are less locked down because the focus is so much on the games here.
All right. Aaron Kuriloff, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.